About 75 years ago, we were graced with a film that is now regarded as a critically acclaimed classic and one of the gems of film noir. And now, in 2022, Guillermo del Toro has reimagined it for the modern audience. But does it deliver? Staying true to the tenets of the 1947 film of the same name based off of the book of the same name? And my answer to that, my friends, is yes. Yes, I believe it does. Man, I have some strong thoughts about this one. Okay, first off, let's bring it back a notch. Now, I'm going to admit, I never knew that this was a remake or that there was a 1947 Nightmare Alley movie until just recently. But when I watched that original movie just recently, it didn't really pull me in. Like, my attention span was all over the place. I just didn't really care for it that much or care about the movie that much. And I guess that's just because there was a lot of talking and the picture quality just wasn't great, which was to be expected. And I'm not saying that to undermine that movie. I'm sure a lot of people loved it. I, for one, just wasn't that into it. At least not on first watch. And that might just be me. The new one though is arguably better in some aspects while also having some of the same flaws as the original, but I can definitely see why they chose to remake this one since it is now considered a classic, even though I read that it didn't get the best of reviews and was a box office flop when it first got released. But I mean, it is kind of great to bring this kind of story to the current generation of the 21st century, you know, to appeal to the audiences of today. And I guess that might be why I enjoyed it a little bit more. Nightmare Alley is essentially about the rise and fall of conman Stanton Carlyle, who at first stumbles across a traveling carnival, and over time he learns a lot of things, performs tricks to deceive guests, and also falls in with the wrong crowd. And while he becomes pretty successful at first, he soon gets too ahead of himself and everything crumbles down to his feet. I definitely tried to pay closer attention to this movie this time around, and after watching the original movie and now this one, I feel I definitely have a better understanding of what Nightmare Alley is all about. First off, I gotta say, the acting was great. The set was very believable and the cinematography was just gorgeous, along with the addition of the score, which in turn made the movie feel a whole lot more dramatic and the environment feel more bleak. And I say with the addition of the score because the original almost had none. I mean, it did have a few sound effects here and there, but it wasn't like in an abundance like in this one. You can definitely tell the technological advances in this movie, and I mean quite rightly so, you know, which is why I say I'm glad they remade this one, especially for those who, you know, love the original one so much. It's not only a work of art, but it is also very faithful to the original. Some scenes are almost identical in a way, while being slightly different as well, which is fine, and due to the 30-minute longer runtime than the original, it does feel like it is a little bit more detailed in some areas. However, I still feel like some scenes and moments were kind of left out, which is unfortunate, but overall it's still fine because it still felt like it captured basically all of the key moments and had the same overall intent. And that's why I feel like it's pretty important to watch the original movie before this one if you get a chance to. So you'll know what to expect coming into this one and will make you more aware of the things that happen in this movie, you know, like the similarities and the differences that Guillermo del Toro makes. However, because of the longer runtime, this movie is very, very slow. It's one of those slow burn movies that take a long time to pick up. Heck, even the original felt very slow, and that's because most of this movie is just talking. And for a drama, it honestly didn't feel very dramatic most of the time. And that's where I feel like this modern take of Nightmare Alley also stays true to the original, because for the most part, and I'm kind of afraid to say it, but it's just how I feel, but it just kind of felt monotone, bland, and frankly boring. There's a large portion of this movie that's not very interesting or engaging, and that might be due to the fact that we don't learn much about Stan Carlisle's character or most of the other characters, so we don't learn to feel for them either. And it was very hard for me to care about the movie due to this. I also feel like some characters and their relationships could have been fleshed out a lot more, and at certain times, some characters were just almost forgotten. But also with the rise to fame of Stan Carlisle, I feel like his rise could have been more slowly developed because it all just felt very sudden in a way. You know, some people have said that the original had a very emotional and heartbreaking story. I, for one, didn't feel that too much though, but I kind of expected more with this movie, and it was kind of better in that regard. I did like learning about the carnival and what these people had to go through, showing the hardships of earning back in the day and the different classes of people. Like you've got the showsmen, the customers, and then the geek, the lowest of the low. So there's that. But since I found it hard to care for anyone in the movie, I just didn't feel much else from it. Just a bit with Stan Carlisle's character, but I mean, he got what he deserved. Kind of. Look, this movie is not going to be one that's going to appeal to the mainstream audience, I feel, because it's one that really makes you think, and it's kind of dull in a way. And I mean, this is one of those movies that's not always going to be captivating. It's not always going to pull you in. It's only when it comes to the conclusion of its journey where you will truly understand what lies beneath and what it all means. And I guess how deep of a movie it actually is. Some people might not get it straight away though. That's why I recommend you watch the 1947 original. I don't know if you want to do that after this one. You can if you like this movie very much, but do it before, just so you know what you're going into. I'm going to give Nightmare Alley a B-. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Like and sub if you enjoyed, and as always, feel free to check out any of my previous videos. Until next time.